My phone buzzed at 7:12, dragging me from a deep, uneasy sleep. I rubbed my eyes and picked it up, already sensing that something was wrong. My father's voice came through, flat, cold, almost rehearsed. "Ethan, Grandpa died last night. Funeral Friday. He left us everything. You get nothing." For a moment, I couldn't breathe, my chest tightened, my stomach flipped. "Wait, what?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Behind him, I could hear my mother, Karen, unmistakably laughing, a harsh, high-pitched sound that cut through me like a knife. "Finally, you're out," she said. I froze. I had nowhere to run from that laughter. It had haunted me for years. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just put the call on speaker. Something about their certainty felt wrong, and then I saw him. Grandpa Henry, sitting at the kitchen table, calm as ever, alive. He held a sealed envelope, thick and official, from the attorney, the wax stamp intact. His eyes, sharp and twinkling despite the morning light, scanned the phone as if weighing every word my father had spoken. The envelope shifted slightly in his hands. He said nothing, he just sat there, waiting. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. "Grandpa, you're here." My voice was barely a whisper. He leaned forward, and I realized he was about to speak. But instead of explaining, he placed a finger on his lips, gesturing for silence. Then, slowly, he leaned toward the phone. My father's voice cracked, confused now. What are you?" Then Grandpa Henry said a single word, one word that froze my blood. "Listen." The room seemed to shrink. The sun outside barely pierced the blinds, casting long, slanted shadows across the kitchen floor. Grandpa's presence was overwhelming. It wasn't just that he was alive. It was that he had always been alive in ways no one could see or understand. My father went silent, my mother's laughter cut off mid-cackle, replaced by a sharp, panicked inhale. "Listen," Grandpa repeated, this time louder. His eyes locked with mine, and I felt a jolt, as if he had reached through the phone, through the distance, into my very bones. I took a deep breath and set the phone down. Grandpa gestured toward the envelope. I opened it slowly, hands trembling. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed neatly, legal and final. It wasn't a will, not exactly. It was an address, a set of instructions. And a single line in bold letters. "Everything you need is waiting, but not in the way they expect." I looked at him, bewildered. Grandpa's face cracked into a small, knowing smile. "They think money is the end of it," he said quietly, almost to himself. "They never understood what truly matters." The envelope also contained a small, strange key. I held it in my palm, and it felt heavier than it should, almost alive, vibrating faintly against my skin. Grandpa watched me, his eyes calm but filled with that sharp, undeniable intelligence I had always feared and adored. My father's voice trembled over the line. "This is ridiculous," Mom said. Grandpa interrupted. "You're not ready to understand, but you will be, and it begins today." I glanced at him, unsure whether I was dreaming or hallucinating. How could he be here, alive, holding an envelope meant to declare his death? Why would my parents act so cruelly, so gleefully at his supposed passing? And what secret was hidden in that key and those instructions? Grandpa tapped the envelope lightly, and my heart thumped violently in my chest. "This isn't just about inheritance," he said. "It's about truth. It's about who we are when no one is watching. You're about to find out things that will change everything about our family, about them, about you." I swallowed hard. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions at once, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I nodded slowly, as if acknowledging a ritual I had always known I would take part in, even before this morning. Grandpa's presence filled the room with a weight, and yet, in that heaviness, I felt an unexpected warmth. He stood, motioning for me to follow him. I realized then that the house felt different. Rooms I had walked through 1,000 times now seemed unfamiliar, almost secretive. Shadows lingered in corners where they never had before, and the air was thick, electric, buzzing with possibilities I couldn't yet name. As we walked, Grandpa's voice dropped to a whisper. "They wanted you to feel powerless. They wanted you to think you had lost everything, but real power isn't money. It's knowledge, it's timing, it's patience. And you, Ethan, have more of it than they ever imagined." I clutched the key tighter. The sound of the speakerphone crackled faintly with my parents' angry voices in the background, but it felt distant, irrelevant. Grandpa guided me toward a hidden door behind the pantry, one I had never noticed before. Though I had lived here all my life, the key fit perfectly. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Grandpa handed me a flashlight, though he barely needed one. "Everything starts here," he said. "Once you step inside, there's no going back. Are you ready?" I hesitated for a moment, the weight of the day pressing on me, the absurdity of it all threatening to pull me back into disbelief. But the spark in Grandpa's eyes, the quiet certainty in his voice, drew me forward. I took a deep breath, tightened my grip on the key, and stepped into the darkness, following him. Behind me, I heard the phone hit the floor with a sharp thud. My parents' shouts faded as the darkness swallowed us. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly alive, as if I had stepped out of the life I knew and into a story that was waiting just for me, a story that my parents could never understand, no matter how loud they screamed. At the bottom of the staircase, a hidden room unfolded before me. The walls were lined with shelves stacked high with dusty leather-bound books, jars filled with strange powders, and stacks of yellowed papers tied with ribbons. The air smelled faintly of cedar and something sweet, almost like old perfume. Grandpa moved confidently through the room, like he had walked here 1,000 times, and I followed, heart pounding with equal parts fear and excitement. "This," he said, gesturing around the hidden chamber, "is what they never wanted you to see. Not your father, not your mother, not anyone who thinks life is measured in dollars and cents." I took a hesitant step forward, the flashlight beam catching a curious object on a table in the center of the room. It was a small, intricately carved wooden box, its surface etched with symbols I didn't recognize. Grandpa picked it up, turning it over in his hands as though it were fragile enough to shatter with a single touch. "This is the real inheritance," he said quietly. "Everything else is trivial. Money, land, possessions, they are shadows. Real power, real knowledge, comes from understanding the things most people fear to even see." My mind reeled. I wanted to ask questions, to demand explanations, but Grandpa's presence was so commanding, so absolute, that my voice caught in my throat. He noticed and smiled. "Patience," he said. "All will be revealed. First, you must understand why they wanted me gone. Why they wanted you to think you were powerless. They feared this room, this knowledge, more than anything else." He opened the wooden box carefully. Inside were several smaller envelopes, each marked with a name. My own name was on the top one. I hesitated for a moment, then opened it. Inside was a letter, handwritten in Grandpa's familiar scrawl. "Dear Ethan, if you are reading this, it means you chose to follow, to believe. Everything you have been told about our family is a lie, a distraction. Your parents, in their greed, sought to claim what they could not understand. They think death and inheritance are simple matters. They are not. The key I gave you unlocks more than doors, it unlocks truth. Truth about our family's history, and the power it carries. By the time they realize the depth of what they tried to steal, it will be too late. Your journey begins now, and it will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Trust no one outside this room, not yet, and remember, the greatest treasures are never gold." I looked up from the letter at Grandpa Henry, who was watching me with an intensity I had never seen before. His eyes seemed to glow in the dim light, alive with secrets and memories older than my comprehension. What is this?" I whispered. He chuckled softly, a sound that carried a strange mix of warmth and menace. "This is our legacy, the real legacy. Your parents don't deserve to understand it. And perhaps for now neither do they." I felt a mixture of anger and disbelief. My parents. My mother laughing as she claimed I would get nothing, my father so cold, all of it felt small and petty compared to this. I realized then that my life had been controlled by their greed for too long. Now, for the first time, I held something that was truly mine. Grandpa guided me to a corner of the room, where a large cabinet stood. Inside were stacks of old journals, photographs, and maps. "Every generation hides something," he explained. "Our family has kept secrets that are powerful, dangerous, and transformative. You must learn them, not for them, but for yourself. Only then will you understand what it truly means to inherit everything." I spent hours that morning in that hidden room, absorbing what Grandpa shared. He showed me letters from distant relatives who had discovered incredible inventions, records of secret societies our ancestors had influenced, and journals filled with knowledge most people would dismiss as myth. Each revelation was more astonishing than the last. My disbelief gradually gave way to awe. Then came the final envelope, sealed with crimson wax. Grandpa handed it to me with a solemn expression. "This," he said, "is the reason they wanted me gone. It contains the instructions for what comes next. The moment you open it, your life, and theirs will change forever. I broke the seal carefully and unfolded the letter inside. It was concise, yet its implications were staggering. It described a series of steps, each leading to a hidden location, where the most significant part of our family's legacy was stored, a vault containing not money, not jewels, but knowledge, inventions, and records that could alter the course of history. Grandpa's eyes gleamed as he spoke. They think they can take what is theirs by birthright, but knowledge cannot be stolen. It must be discovered, earned, understood, and now you are ready. I felt a surge of determination. For years my parents had mocked me, dismissed me, and tried to make me feel insignificant. But now, with Grandpa by my side, I realized how powerless they truly were against the truth. The room grew quiet except for our breathing. Grandpa placed a hand on my shoulder. You will go, follow the instructions, unlock the vault, and claim what is rightfully ours. Not for wealth, not for revenge, but for understanding. By the time your parents learn what you have done, it will be too late. They will see, finally, that nothing is theirs that they have not truly earned. As I looked at him, the weight of the morning pressed down, yet I felt lighter than I had in years. The fear, the anger, the years of feeling trapped, they all seemed distant now. I had a purpose, a guide, and a path that was uniquely mine. And then, as we prepared to leave the hidden room, Grandpa turned toward me one last time. His expression softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through the intensity. Remember this, he said. Life is more than inheritance. It is the stories we uncover, the truths we dare to see, and the courage to act when the world tells us we cannot. I nodded, clutching the key and the letter, feeling a thrill of anticipation mixed with terror. I had stepped into a reality my parents could never comprehend, a reality where the truth was more valuable than anything they had hoarded, where I had become the heir to a legacy they had mocked and feared. The hidden door closed behind us, and I knew, as the morning sun climbed higher in the sky, that my life had changed forever. My parents' greed would crumble in the face of what I now held. And Grandpa, ever calm, ever watchful, had given me more than an inheritance. He had given me the power to see, understand, and act. As we emerged into the kitchen once more, I saw the phone lying on the floor, my parents' voices still faintly shouting into the void. I smiled, a slow, triumphant smile. They had believed they controlled everything. They had believed death, lies, and manipulation were enough, but they were wrong. Grandpa Henry sat beside me at the table, calm and serene, the sealed envelopes before us. And I knew, with a certainty that made my heart race, that the story had only just begun. Because some treasures are not measured in dollars, some inheritances are not written in law, and some victories come not from what is given, but from what is discovered, understood, and seized with courage. And this was ours finally, completely, undeniably ours.